Brad Pitt in F1 lead the pack at the box office. An exciting name takes over 007. Matt Reeves finishes the Batman Part 2 script, and so much more in this episode of Beyond the Screen. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Screen. My name is Ryan Gum. I'm your host, and with me today, my beloved has returned to me, Jacob Holtzclaw. What is up, dude?
What's going on?
How are you?
I'm feeling a whole lot better. Did you explain to the audience?
No.
What had happened?
So
you just rocked the last episode. They didn't even know the hardship and pain that you were going through.
No.
I sissied out.
Well, that's not why you missed out, but that is a good reason why to miss out. So Jake, as we explained last week, was moving, and I explained to Emily before last episode, but I did not say what was happening. We were on a film set the weekend prior. Jake moved, by the way, if you can't tell from his new setup. It's a lovely new home. I would love, Jake, here in a second to hear about what you think about the new place and just kind of everything going on in your world. But yeah, I did not say anything about last week. We were on a film set out in the middle of nowhere on a lake. And while we were filming outside, we all got eat up by who knows what. It was bugs of some sort. And we have welts, or had welts, all over us. And it was terrible. Like, to the point that when I would go to work and I'd walk around, my clothes would like rub my skin and it would itch and my skin would scream. It was terrible. Not good. And so, yeah, we did get through me and Emily got through the podcast with, I'm like trying not to scratch the whole time. And I think I did a pretty good job last week. But Jake, now that you suffered the same affliction I did, so it was terrible for you as well. We don't have to go into all the gritty details because it's disgusting and it's gross.
Want to. Yeah, I only do it with the people closest to me.
Yeah, it's real. It was bad. It covered a lot of surface area and it hurt. But on a happier note, tell us about your new place. Tell us about the moving experience. What's going on?
I had this wonderful individual help me move. Honestly, I wish I could have paid him and he did it all himself. He could probably lift the couch over his head on his own. The illustrious Ryan Gum helped me move. So that was Friday, and then I moved the rest of it with Mom Saturday, and then I went straight to the short film set that Saturday evening. So, and then had my affliction.
Is that what we're calling it? That's
this through the last week. And like I had to take a day off. Like I worked from home one day.
Yeah.
It was so bad. And I'm back now, but like I haven't had a time to rest. I haven't, like, other than to become more healthy. But the new apartment is different, like in the way that it's proportioned. So it's the same square footage. However, in the last apartment, it was primarily living room. And as you can tell, I'm in a bedroom now, where I was full setup can fit in the living room with three pieces of furniture, and TV stand. Like, that living room was massive. Yeah. I could have put a dining room table in there too if I had wanted.
Yeah.
This one, however, that's where all the room was stolen from, basically. This one, awesome kitchen. I have a laundry room. The bathroom is like the perfect size. It's like you don't really need a lot more than just a shower, a toilet, and a sink. And that's what it does.
Yeah.
Like, it is a bathroom.
Yeah.
And then my room is bigger. And I have a walk-in closet that is much larger than my previous. So all of the other things besides the living room are larger and better and higher quality. However, I have a lot of large furniture in my living room. And the way it's set up right now is not ideal to what I thought it was going to be. But we're making do.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
It is a lovely new home, and I could see why you were so eager to get into it, because it is a lot better.
Yeah, and it's the same price, if not a little cheaper, or a little more. But like, we're talking like less than $50 more or cheaper, or the same price. Like, it's within that margin.
In a better
and
spot.
It's much nicer. In a better spot. I'm closer. Like, I say closer, like I'm 5 to 10 minutes closer.
That still makes a lot of difference at the end of the day. Yeah.
I'll this will be the first time and maybe the last time I mention it. I'm closer to the motorcycle. Like I'm closer to the people who help me out, who help me move, the my friends from work. Like I'm closer to these guys. So it's all all across the board better. And I just have to deal with my furniture touching.
And that's okay. And those are things that can be adjusted.
Yeah, I'm really attached to having all three. I have a recliner, I have a big chair, and I have a big couch.
Yeah.
And I'm attached to having all three. I don't want to give them up because like I may not have a lot of people over all the time, but one day I might. And that's what I'm planning for.
One
I didn't
day.
at all I didn't at all last year. The entire year I was at the old apartment. Um, but hey, that could change on a whim, randomly. I'm prepared for it.
Congrats again, Jake.
How Ryan, how are you? Ryan, how are you?
I'm good. I mean, I don't really have. I'm not going to get into it a lot because I want to go ahead and get into the box office news. But thankfully, the affliction that we're going to talk about again, it was just bug bites, but it was like the worst kind. It
Yeah.
was terrible. It was the closest thing to like a rash that wasn't a rash all over your body. Like imagine that.
I would attribute it to a poison ivy
Yeah.
that thankfully didn't spread. Mine was more like poison ivy.
It was bad. And so I thankfully by the time I had a wedding to go to, I was a groomsman in one of my best friends on this earth, his wedding, and it was fantastic that like it ran up by the time Friday and Saturday rolled around with rehearsals and the actual event. So I didn't really deal with it then, but it was Monday through Thursday. It was terrible. But we're back now and
Yeah.
we're running better than ever. And that's really what I did this weekend. I went to the opposite side of the state on the river. I'm not going to say where and specifics because privacy reasons. But not doing that. But it was a good time, and it's just lovely people, getting married in a lovely venue, and I'm just happy for them. So congrats, Peter. That's what I'll say I'm happy for him. So Peter, yeah, he did a great. I'm happy for him. So on that note. You're here for a movie and entertainment business podcast, if you will. So we're going to go ahead and hop into that. Well, not so much business, but kind of business. More movies.
I'm here for Ryan.
Oh, well, thank you.
I think other people can agree.
I have that effect on people, but I'm just kidding. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and hop into the box office news, our first segment of the day, one of three. We will go over your top 5 in the box office this past weekend, starting off with F1, the movie. Apple finally makes a splash at the box office with its fast-paced hit F1, starring Brad Pitt and directed by Joseph Kosinski, who also did Top Gun Maverick and Tron Legacy, which I did not know he did Tron, and it makes a lot of sense because Tron has a lot of those same like high-stakes, fast-paced. Like when you think of Tron, you think of like the light bikes or whatever they're called, right? Like the very fast. So or Tron Legacy, I should say. So it makes a lot of sense that a film like this would take off as much as it has, but this is the first for Apple. I know Warner Brothers had a stake in this as well. I think they were the main distributor with Apple. So a big hit for both outlets. The film earned $57 million domestically and $146.3 million globally in its first weekend in theaters. This domestic mark hits right in the center of expectations, even closer to the higher end. It was like they had projections between 50 and 60 million in its opening, and it had 57, almost flat, which is crazy for a film that we talked last week. Emily called it. I'm going to get to where she called it, but Emily had a very accurate prediction in the box office this week. I did not think F1 was going to take off that much because, I mean, I guess I should have had more of a thought because Top Gun Maverick exploded, right? Like, and it's a lot of the same, that high stakes, that fast paced, I guess like vehicle maneuvering or whatever, like the whole race for the win type thing. And so come out of nowhere, they won. The film is on its way to matching its $250 million budget. Apple has a tendency to just throw cash at films. They're probably going to make their money back, already at 146.3 globally in its first weekend. So the synopsis for this one from IMDb is, quote, a Formula One driver comes out of retirement to mentor and team up with a younger driver, and that's it. And that does not do this film justice. Brad Pitt plays this older driver, and his name is Sonny Hayes. He comes out of retirement, not just with F1, he's hopping over to like the NASCAR circuit. It's not anywhere near F1. And he is training this kid, and I cannot think of his name. It's in here somewhere. But it's the whole idea. Young driver by Damson Idris is the actor's name. So it's that think like Karate Kid, like you have like the teacher and the apprentice type thing. But this one, instead of leaning on like the younger one, it's the older one, and that kind of like I still got it type vibe. Um, the film earned a scalding hot 97% on the popcorn meter and an A from Cinema Score. So audiences are adoring this film right now. Those are insane numbers for a film in its first weekend about NASCAR. NASCAR, Jake, NASCAR. Anyway, with the success of this film, I have already seen, and this is from Yahoo, is where I pulled this from. Director Joseph Kosinski is already talking about a sequel. There's apparently a post-credit scene that opens up.
F2.
Yeah, F2. That apparently opens up the opportunity for Sonny Hayes to come back in some way. And this is such an obscure reference. This is so like, this was like, this guy knows movies because he says in the sequel, he would love the idea of Brad Pitt's Sonny Hayes racing against Tom Cruise's portrayal of Cole Trickle from the 1990 NASCAR film called Days of Thunder, which is popular, but I've never heard of it. Like, I only knew it was popular after doing research for this one. Had no idea it existed, but apparently Kaczynski wants to bring Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise together, and in the way that he phrased it in the interview, it was like, what if Sonny Hayes and Trickle know each other? They have a history, and they raced each other, and apparently that's something that he wants to do. Whether or not that's something the audience wants, I could not tell you, but I thought that was very interesting because that's a 30-something year gap between Trickle's first experience and what would be a sequel for F1. Race car. So, Jake, what do we think about this film? I mean, I've seen the advertisements for it coming into this week. It was competing with a third week How to Train Your Dragon, a first week debuting Megan, which we'll talk about later. Elio from Pixar is still out in its second or third week. Did not think this film would do as well as it has. What do you think about Apple's first major splash at the box office and in cinema with F1 the movie?
I'm actually pretty surprised, even though I was getting a lot of marketing. I guess I was demographic, mid-20s white male,
Yeah.
race car, I guess. Which I have a lot of I would say like vehicle oriented TikToks and Instagram. Like my feed is primarily the blue collar guys working on their cars. So
Yeah.
I could see how I'm the demographic for that. I wouldn't be surprised if I bring up my fellow coworkers who are super into Brad Pitt or Jason Statham and NASCAR and F1 anyway. So it's probably a big hit for them. Um, this is like a regular weekend, right? This isn't a holiday weekend
No,
like
just
Fourth of
normal
July.
3 day.
Like this is just.
Mm-hmm.
I think it helps that How to Train Your Dragon was already 3 weeks in, and it seems like, and we'll talk about this later, that Elio didn't do as well, or getting a lot of flack there. So I think it lucked into an awesome weekend.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to take away from it that this is probably a really good movie. And I'm not even going to say, I'm going to rescind probably. I'm going to say it is a really good movie, judging by popcorn meter and cinema score. Um, so this, if it comes available, if you have Apple TV or other streaming services, it might be a watch
Yeah.
with your dad.
Yeah, with your dad. No, from the
So,
sources that I was reading about it, it's a film that is very like it's adult oriented, so it hits a very specific demographic. But that's where it's shocking is that you have so many films competing for the family friendly, but family friendly usually dominates, right? Hence why
right.
How to Train Your Dragon is as far up, and that is our second. But before I get to that, I do want to say two things because you reminded me first. If you see any technical difficulties, that is not Emily's fault. I meant to say that at the jump, but I forgot. So that is the main thing is if you see anything funky going on, it's not her fault. It's all tech. It has nothing to do with her, and it will be resolved in the future next time you see us. But this episode, our YouTube watchers, it's okay. I promise. It's not on purpose. It's
No, we did it just for you guys,
yeah, specifically for you. But
specifically
to finish off my point with this, and my second point is, I wonder if there was such like a pull because that's why Elio and Lilo and Stitch drop so much when compared to How to Train Your Dragon is because they all pull from the same demographic. I wonder if that pull mixed in with all three of those films have been out for a certain number of weeks now, that if that just like crashed that demographic and so many people were excited that it just opened the door for a film like F1, which genuinely seems to be very good, to absolutely obliterate any of the competition.
Perhaps. I could see how it's like, "Oh, we went to the movies last week," or I don't know how modern families treat theaters nowadays. You know, is it
Apparently,
like a
it's not that far off of what it was before because again, the family-oriented movie dominates every time. Like
Yeah,
that is the thing that has saved the box office this year and why 2025 is looking like a great year for film is because of Minecraft movie and now
yeah.
Lilo and Stitch. These are all family movies. And now How to Train Your
My
Dragon.
I came up we didn't go to the movies unless it was, like, either a super big deal or we really didn't have anything to do.
Yeah,
And most days, if we didn't have anything to do, I mean, I lived on a farm, like,
right.
there was something to do. It wasn't like there was nothing to do. Um So, like but that's why I asked the question, it's like modern families or even, like, 10 years ago, what were families doing? Were they going every weekend or every other weekend or, like
I know I'm kind of in the same boat where like well my family couldn't afford it. I grew up in a really in a poor household, so we couldn't go to the movies as much as we wanted. But it is a thing that where it was like it is something special, and I feel like families that have more of that financial incentive, you have 2 hours, 3 hours away from your kid. You know, it's like one of those things. It's like if you're a parent, I feel like I hear it all the time. Is like I'm gonna do whatever I can to get those precious minutes. And so it's like they're safe, like they're at a place that it's not like they're just gonna dip, like they're gonna be invested, or it's like I'm interested in the movie. I don't have to worry about having to wrestle kids apart for 2 hours. I could just whatever.
you know?
So I could see it still being something big, and on top of it. Let's go back to like the more oriented thing, right? Like we're not talking about like get my kid away from me for a certain amount of time. It is like a bonding thing. It's like we're here together. We're here to watch a movie that we're all excited about. This is a family thing. So I think that that's why these movies have blown up. Um,
Yeah,
but with that, it's time to go ahead and move on down the list.
yeah. But to my point, it was just like, you have Elio on its 2nd week and How to Train Your Dragon on the 3rd. Like, you've got these 2 family oriented movies.
Yeah,
Are they did they saturate it for this week?
yeah.
And that's why maybe the families haven't come back out and maybe just the adults came to see Brad Pitt.
Could be. And we're going to go ahead and get into that. So we're going to go
Yeah.
through the rest of our top five here. Finishing second is How to Train Your Dragon in its third weekend in theaters. Universal's action flick live action adaptation finishes with 19.6 million domestically. Thus far, it has earned 200 million domestically over that 3 week run and over 456 million globally. So it is going to not only become DreamWorks' eighth highest grossing film of all time, but it's 40 million away from passing the original's overhaul or overall haul. This is insane numbers from the live action remake. It's going to pass 500 million, which is one of the tendon poles of like a successful film nowadays. Is can you get to that billion, $500 million mark? How to Train Your Dragon is going to do that, and we will see many a sequel from that franchise. Elio finishes third. Disney Pixar's newest rendition into the genre holds firm at third in its second weekend in theaters, pulling in 10.4 million domestically. The film thus far has pulled in 41.9 million overall domestically and 72 million globally. Both numbers are both of those are numbers that Pixar grits their teeth at. They go, ah, because these are not good. Not for a Pixar like standard anyway. This is a film that they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on, and they are barely scratching 42 million domestically in 2 weeks. Not good, but it does show some staying power that it can outlast debuting films such as Megan 2.0, which continues a train of disappointment in this rendition of the box office top five. So from Universal, Megan 2.0 stumbles hard, only pulling in 10.2 million domestically. The original domestically pulled in over 30 million in its opening weekend, which shows the question I guess it brings up is this a fad or was this really franchise material? And you might think 2 films, that's not really a franchise, that's just a sequel. Well, there were further plans specifically for next year following Megan 2.0. Before we get there, though, there is a silver lining to a 10.2 million domestic opening for Megan 2.0. And that is the film only cost 25 million to produce. That paired with a B plus cinema score, which ranks higher than the original's B score, things are not terrible. Like they're gonna make a profit because it is in retrospect, a cheap movie for high-end Hollywood, and those who watched it are enjoying it. But it's disappointing nonetheless. The question then becomes, does this film's kind of lackluster start, does it impact the spin-off that's supposed to happen next year called Soulmate, and instead of an A, it's an 8 in the end? I guess it's going to be another like Megan
Shouldn't be.
variant. You know, it's like instead of, and I could see it. AI instead of child toys, it's love dolls or whatever. It's like you make your own girlfriend, right? So it's like that's got to be what that means. So will this film impact the making of that and future films? Just quickly.
Likely. I mean, very likely. I was actually wanting to say that like didn't Megan 2.0 kind of change? Like Megan was the bad guy in the first one, and now they've given her a redemption and is now the savior during the slasher, right?
Yeah, I think that the big reason, like if I had to pick a reason, is it's not because it was just a fad. It's mainly because it changed genres.
Yeah,
Megan was originally a horror film,
right.
and now it just
And now it's kind of like a superhero
yeah, it
deal.
looks more like an action thriller, like more like almost with comedy. Like the original was kind of funny, but it was like
Yeah,
it had its moments where it was freaky. Just like the like Uncanny Valley with like this child looking doll that is like ripping children's ears off, right? Like it is scary.
right.
And not scary, but it is freaky at times. But like now it just like I see the promotion for it, it just doesn't look like that. And I feel like they leaned into the idea of like, oh, she is just a bad, bee. She's awesome. But like no one walks into a Megan showing for that. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so I don't know. They made her like her design went from a kid to like a teen or a grown up. So she's like physically grown up or whatever. And I don't know. Just didn't make sense to me. Um,
Sorry, I don't know if I answered your question, but like
I
I
think it
think
will.
it will impact
Yeah.
the future films, but also I could tell you that this is what's different, and this might be why.
I think they're going to roll out a third and it's going to be Soulmate and it's got to go back to the horror before it has any chance of continuing what is this franchise.
Well, no, it's a cinematic universe like Marvel, where the
Yeah.
Megan 2.0 will fight the soulmate.
Then they're going to go. Yeah, yeah,
Godzilla versus Kong.
yeah. Mecha Godzilla versus Godzilla.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah,
anyway. Finishing fifth is 28 years later in its second weekend in theaters. It took a massive tumble. If you
yeah.
remember last week, it finished second. It is now fifth, having earned 9.7 million domestically. That is a 68% drop from last week to this week. Insane numbers, and that comes after a week of constantly seeing it's disappointing, it's not as good, the ending was weird, massive zombie
Yeah.
thing. Like, a lot of odd occurrences. Jake is laughing because he knows what I'm referring to, and anyone who's seen the film
Yeah,
knows what I'm referring to.
I was wondering if you mentioned it.
I did.
Uh,
I did.
all right, awesome.
The thing
That's all I care
is,
about.
the
As long
thing
as it was mentioned.
Oh, of course. The thing is, the film still looks like it's going to hit its $60 million spending budget and beyond. It's still going to be affordable. But this is not a good sign for its staying power for Sony's legacy sequel. So, other than the top five, Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning both fall out of the top five after 6 weeks in theaters, respectively, which is an insane number for both. And looking ahead, Jurassic World Rebirth hits theaters on Friday, July 2nd. What could the box office look like next week, Jake? Just quickly, a quick little prediction.
I'm gonna say that. What'd you say was coming out? Sorry, I totally blanked. You said it was.
Jurassic World, the Rebirth, the new one.
That's gonna take first,
You think so?
and then it's gonna be F1, and I think Elio is gonna drop hard.
Ooh, interesting.
Um, Megan might stay, but how to? Yeah, so how to? Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, F1, How to Train Your Dragon, Megan,
Yeah.
and then I don't know.
Hmm. I have an inkling to agree with you on the first three.
Yeah,
I think it's all going to drop down. I think Elio actually will continue to outlast Megan because those family films have a tendency, even when they fail, to stick around for a while.
yeah.
This is a film that next week will still make another 8 to 10 million, and it's going to hang
Well,
out in that fifth spot.
we've got kind of a crazy weekend coming up,
Hmm.
right? I
Oh,
mean, there's
happy
going to be
Fourth
a
of
lot of
July,
people.
by the way.
Happy 4th of July. We won't see you till
Yeah,
afterward, but we'll pray for your dogs and cats who are frightened with loud noises.
poor children.
Um, but I know that weekend can be weird because July 4th is on a Friday, and I, like many others, is taking Thursday
Yeah.
off as well, just to get that extra long um, weekend and to go home. So this could be kind of a crazy time. I'm not sure when they start counting. I assume they start counting Friday as usual, even though it is holiday.
Yeah, the holiday weekend. I mean, to be honest, this probably won't even count as a holiday weekend. It'll just be a regular 3 day. It's just Friday.
Regular.
Friday, just instead of
Okay.
people getting off work to go see it, they're just gonna count Friday as like a bigger day.
I would say, well, I don't know, because when you get off work, you want to go see fireworks, not a movie. So
Yeah,
it
but
is up in the air,
the
right?
thing is, people aren't going to work on July 4th, so they could be going to the movies before the
Earlier.
fireworks. Yeah,
A matinee.
a matinee showing.
Yeah. So I don't know. It is kind of up in the air, but that's like my top three. I think I can get top three, but five is always going to be up in the air because Elio and Megan are within $200,000 over each other, which is crazy close. That's why we didn't get that's exactly why we didn't get started early
Yeah, yeah, we
earlier,
were
right,
waiting. We
Ryan?
were waiting.
Right?
Wink. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. And out of top 10, there's nothing like, it's just the movies we've already talked about. There's nothing that piques my interest. I even look down at 15 and it's like the same stuff we've been talking about. So there's
Yeah.
nothing really out there. I see an A24 that was in theaters, like for in 4 theaters, Sorry Baby, which I haven't heard of. Um, so maybe that'll get a wider release, but
Yeah.
outside of that, not a lot of stuff showing up this week.
Nope. So I think I 28 years is gonna dive hard. It's just gonna it's crashed
Yeah.
and burned. I think Megan will finish fifth. I think Elio will drop to fourth. And that's my top five. And so on
Okay.
that note, I think we're good to move on to our second segment. So coming up after the break, a new director was named for Amazon's James Bond, a Lilo and Stitch 2 confirmed by Disney, and a blast of info surrounding Tron Ares. Coming up next. Welcome back to Beyond the Screen. You made it to segment two. We're going to go ahead and dive into our major news from this past week. If you have not heard about what we're about to talk about, you really do not pay attention because this is the
And we appreciate that because that means you're listening to
you're
us.
giving us a job. So, if you haven't seen this, this is going to be a mild shocker. But for those of you who have seen this, you will know exactly what we're talking about. The biggest news from this past week: Denis Villeneuve tabbed to direct the next iteration of James Bond. The Canadian filmmaker, known for his creative direction leading the Dune franchise, his take on Blade Runner 2049, and Prisoners, will now make an attempt at the new look Amazon run 007. In a comment on Amazon's official statement last Wednesday, Villeneuve states, quote, "I grew up watching James Bond films with my father. Ever since Dr. No and Sean Connery, I'm a diehard Bond fan." When speaking to NPR, author of the James Bond Encyclopedia, Stephen J. Rubin, had nothing but excitement for the upcoming director, stating, quote, "The nice thing about him, he kind of proved it already, or really dramatically in the Dune series, is he can do spectacle, but he also does character and emotion," which I feel like that he was just stating the obvious, but it was interesting to see NPR going, "Yo, you wrote the encyclopedia, right?" So insert professional critic fan person saying Denis Villeneuve will do great. Um, when it comes to the director's opinion of the IP itself, so Denis' thoughts on James Bond, he calls James Bond sacred, which is crazy for a guy who has done Dune and Blade Runner 2049. He further states, quote, "I intend to honor the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come. This is a massive responsibility, but also incredibly exciting for me and a huge honor." While this is exciting news now, this is fun, we have to keep in mind that there's going to be a lot of time to dissect this news because upcoming for the acclaimed director is his third installment into the Dune franchise called Messiah, which hits theaters December of next year. So that means we're probably not going to see anything James Bond until at least 2028, which is a massive shift in the mentality of Amazon. Because if you remember, not that long ago, me and Jake were talking about we always reference Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson because it was hilarious the fact that Barbara Broccoli was like content because some dude in Amazon was like, yeah, James Bond content. And she like almost fainted or whatever. Like
No.
that is a funny sight to behold. But they bought them out after saying that, after Barbara bashed Jeff Bezos because they were taking too long. Amy
Right.
Pascal and Heyman get in there as producers and they say, you know what, we're going to take even longer because we want our guy. And Amazon listened to them. So what do we think about that?
Uh, I think that I'm gonna. I don't. Denis, is how
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah,
saying
yeah.
it. Like, I just think it was funny. I almost said, and I know this might be wrong, but like Dennis Villanueve. Like, I wanted to put a fat accent on it
Yeah, yeah.
when you said Denis. But I think there's likely a lot of people who would do it justice. But this is one person that you like could have chosen that I trust to do it. Like when you say like he thinks Bond is sacred and like he cherishes it, and regardless of what anybody says, like it needs to change from the old ones or it needs to change from the new ones. I'm just saying that if there could be no better mentality to have going into this franchise.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people share the same mentality, but like someone who cares enough and respects the character and the universe, that was all we could ever ask for.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're not talking about what Denise's favorite, Bond is. Like, we're not going to get into that. He said Bond as a whole is sacred. Or at the very least, he just said Bond is.
Yeah.
So I I have high hopes. Like, I'm very positive about it because and I know everybody's gonna have those words like that quote we showed. It's just like I know everybody's gonna say that, like they're happy that they got the job or whatever, but like he's proven himself with other movies. Um and so I think he can back it up if he truly means what he says. And even if he doesn't, I know it's gonna be an awesome movie
Yeah.
because he is who he is. So I have high hopes regardless of whether or not he's fibbing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
I
I
look forward to it.
I think that that is so perfectly articulated is because like not only is he taking it seriously, he holds it in a high regard, but also like we've seen as Ruben was stating, like Dune proves it. I think you can go back to Prisoners. Prisoners proves it. The film with Hugh Jackman and company and Paul Dano. Like he has proved that he could do the drama, but he could also do the action. He can develop these characters, which I think is the most exciting thing about this development is that it's like, last week me and Emily talked about it. It's like it was between Paul King, who did Wonka, Edgar Wright, Jonathan Nolan, who did Westworld and Fallout, and Denis. And the thing is that even last week, like I said, and it still would have been my choice because I'm a fan of Edgar Wright. I just think he would have been interesting because he can go in either way. Like Bond, way back when before Craig was more goofy, was more silly, and obviously Edgar Wright can do the comedy. But also, the guy has a huge like his most recent films are more serious. Like you take Baby Driver and you take Last Night in Soho and so on and so on. So it's like I feel like he's the perfect guy or would have been to do that. But if you're going to stick with the serious route, the safest option is the best. And the best of those names was obviously Denis. And so I am just from just from the simplistic standpoint, it's yeah, dude, if you can get him, do it. And the thing
Right.
is, that might have been the difference. That might have been the difference between Broccoli and now Pascal and Heyman is there was nothing yet because there was so much infighting. And Pascal and Heyman, the new producers, say, look, we're going to get our guy and it's going to take as long as it gets, but at least you guys get an Academy Award winning, Academy Award nominated director that everyone's excited for. You get that guy to
Exactly.
take the care that needs to be taken to make Bond. And what's most exciting, in his final quote that we have listed here, he says missions, multiple.
Heck yeah.
He doesn't say one. He says, I intend to honor the tradition and open the path for many new missions to come. So this guy's got a broad view. One of the best creators in our business has a broad view of one of the most classic IPs in all of Hollywood.
Awesome.
This is exciting. Any final
So,
thoughts? Oh, well, before we move on to, we're still Bond. We're still here in
which
Bond, but
yeah, we're still gonna be Bond. That's actually my next thought. So I want
okay.
you to take it away.
So, continuing with our Bond news, it was also reported that Amazon's casting wish list for 007 include, brace yourselves, Tom Holland, Jacob Elordi, and Harrison Dickinson, who, the final name, made waves in recent films such as Baby Girl and The Iron Claw. So, we, For
Did
our
I not like if you go back several episodes, I think I said Tom Holland as a joke and Ryan was like, "Please God, no."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was just honestly, it wasn't an original thought. None of my thoughts are original. No. I saw, I did see a guy who's like, for heaven forbid if they choose Tom Holland, he's gonna crash out or what, whatever. I think he was a little bit more vulgar about it, but I thought that was a funny. That's crazy. They did that. There's so many other people I would put in those shoes.
Like it's like I get that you want to go young, and I get that you want to like reinvent the character because you have to. That's like the beauty of James Bond is you can. But babyface Tom Holland, like that is the guy. I get he's the biggest British name you can think of. Like you ask any American or anybody of any nationality, name a British actor, they're gonna say Tom Holland or Benedict Cumberbatch, right? Benedict
I
Cumberbatch would
got
be
Idris. I got Idris all
yes.
day.
I don't. They think he's too old. They want to go young, and so it's like
I get it.
I think the other two, Jacob Elordi and Harrison Dickinson, are interesting, but it's like I look at them and you guys saw them at home. Every image of Tom Hardy's face plastered on a tuxedo, like with the classic like the barrel of the gun look, it looked bad. It doesn't
Yeah.
work. I know he is such a talented actor. He's got the range to make anything work. But the thing is, certain people are not meant to play certain characters. That is just beyond a matter of fact, right? Tom
Yeah.
Holland, his star power will get people in theaters, but that is the number one way that you get people to not take you seriously. It doesn't matter if it's Denis Villeneuve. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. No one will take a Tom Holland goofy as 007. They won't do it.
I just had to look up because I was like, dude, maybe the only way is if he grows facial hair. And I just looked it up, and there's seldom few images of that man with
He
facial
probably
hair.
can't grow a
And
beard.
it's he's I've seen him with a beard, and it's like it it's Tom Holland with a beard. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, it doesn't help. It's just Tom Holland with a beard. And if he had a beard as James Bond, that's not very characteristic either because he's most often full shave.
Yeah, he just doesn't sound like think of
Right.
his voice. He sounds like a kid. Here's the thing.
So,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, I was gonna say what I've seen fan castings as, but go ahead with yours before
Well, I was
I
gonna
do that.
say before we, yeah, the casting is just what I want us to get to. That's the question: is who do we think should play James Bond? But before we get to that, I think the perfect thought process that encompasses what people think about Tom Holland as James Bond came in the form of a meme. Of course it did, because there's no better way to take the temperature of what people think about it than the jokes that they make about it, right? Someone
Right.
said, because we know James Bond to be a womanizer. That's not crazy to say. The meme that I saw was the first time Tom Holland as James Bond sees a woman undressed, and it literally was in quotations. Oh wow, like that is
Yeah.
what people see him like. That's what
Yeah.
people That's it. And you, it doesn't matter. No, no, please. Nothing
No.
against Tom Holland. He's such a good actor, but no. Go ahead.
So I'm seeing I saw a lot of people begging for Theo James and I know him from the Divergent like series of movies, but he's been in The Monkey. He was Hal, I think, or right? I'm not sure. I didn't see The Monkey. X-Men 97, I think he was a voice. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? Theo James.
yeah, yeah.
And then oh wow, I didn't know Theo James was the voice of Hector in Castlevania. Awesome TV series. It is an anime, but bear with me. And then Will Poulter. Saw a lot of people begging for him. They think he could pull it off
I
as a
think
young one.
yeah.
As a young one, they think he's got it in him to be a young Bond. But I am through and through Idris Elba. Like it has to be. Like he's Bond. He's Bond. I don't know. He exudes it, right?
Just
He just
smooth.
has that swagger.
Yeah. Like
So
I don't know. This is perfect. Like just typecasting in the sense of like, oh, they're popular, and it's like even Jacob
yeah,
Elordi. You know what I mean? It's like that. They didn't cast for fit. Right now, this wish list is cast for heartthrobs. This is cast for handsome. This isn't cast for 007. And that's a problem because that's how you.
what were they casting for 20, 30 years ago? Were they or 40 years ago? Were they casting handsome?
But the thing is that when you look at Pierce Brosnan, you think 007. Like it's
But
smooth.
he's not a he's a handsome looking fella.
Yes, that is a side fact of it, but they're not casting for 007. The
Okay.
point is, look back at every James Bond, and they're all smooth. They all have a little bit of grit, even the goofy ones. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, think back to any double, Sean Connery. You know, like, he's a good looking dude, but like the grit about it, you know, they're somewhat stoic. Tom Holland's not that. I feel like if we see it, it's just going to be Tom Holland playing 007. It's not going to be James Bond. You know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like this has just become the Tom Holland hate club. It's not. I don't mean to hate on him. I think he's a
I
great,
very much enjoy him as Spider-Man.
yeah,
But he's playing a 18-year-old.
yeah, a goofy character. He's done so well in other films. And that's the thing is, so anyway, we'll go ahead. We're going to move on because we could harp on James Bond all day. The second story we got in our major news segment is Lilo and Stitch 2 live action remake greenlit at Disney. 2-hour dismay, at least my dismay. I don't know how Jake feels about it, but I am pretty not happy about it. Man, this is a sad week of film news. On Thursday, June 26th, this past week, otherwise known as 626 Day for our fellow Lilo and Stitch fans, Disney announced a sequel to the near billion-dollar live-action remake in an admittedly pretty adorable fashion. In the social clip from Disney's official account, we see a Stitch puppet driving a pink toy convertible as he causes predictable havoc on the Disney Burbank parking lot, in which, using skid marks, he traces his film's title followed by the number 2. So he traces Lilo and Stitch, and then afterwards he 2. After this official announcement, we know nothing. This just popped out. They said, we're making money. We're going to greenlit a sequel. Rumors abound stating it will be a completely original story because there is a sequel called Stitch Has a Glitch. Will it follow that storyline? Nobody knows. Will it follow some narrative arcs from the animated series in which we see other of Jumbo's experiments arrive on Earth to also wreak havoc? You got me. Will director Dean Fleischer Camp even be returning? No, nobody knows. It's just, that's where we're at. That's where we're at. We have zero clue. So, with all that said, we've already expressed, at least I think I've spoken for the both of us, this is probably not what we wanted to see on June 26th, right? What do we hope we see from a sequel because it's happening?
Well, I think it's I did not like the original, obviously.
Yeah.
You made a face.
Sorry, no, that was tech difficulties. That was my bad. Go ahead.
Tech
Go ahead.
difficulties, everybody.
I solved the problem.
But them saying completely original story, like rumors being an original story, is the safest possible route to go from where they started.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Others are, you said Stitch has, has a glitch or talking about the other experiments. You can touch on that, but it's not going to be, if they go completely original, there's going to be arguments that it's not canon. And I don't even know what is canon with all the TV shows and movies. Like, dude, I'm not into the Lilo and Stitch cinematic universe or the TV series,
So,
but
like the Stitch Has a Glitch goes around like the idea that Stitch's original programming starts taking over. So like his newfound heart and his original programming start colliding, and literally his DNA starts to glitch out. Think like Into the Spider-Verse style when they're in the wrong universe. Like that happens. And so he starts kind of going back. I don't know. I feel like the thing is they've added new characters. We're going to spoil the ending. I mean, like, it's been 6 weeks. I think people should already kind of know what's different. I mean, what's Lilo's sister's name? Nani?
yeah.
She just like gives her away because she's trying to go to college. Like, what is that, first off? But secondly, like, there's untold routes this could go. So even if so for my personal experience, I want to see Ruben, the super hyper intelligent, hungry experiment. The only reason, because he has every facet to take over the world. He's got the intelligence, he's got Stitch's strength and anger, but he just likes making food, and that's the only reason that he doesn't do that.
It just makes sandwiches.
He's like, yeah, I like eating. So this place is pretty cool. They got good food, and that's the only reason. And I think that's hilarious. So I want to see, I want to see him, but like, that's all I got.
Something that somebody had pointed out with like the foster care system is that Lilo might have been given to the next door neighbor and it was like happy ending or whatever, but that's not how foster care works. Eventually she would be adopted from that neighbor and
Yeah.
taken away. Like it's not like the I don't know. That's the way that I had seen somebody commenting on it, and that was how it was structured. I'm not sure if that's fact or fact in all places,
Yeah.
or if
Can
the
you just
neighbor could
adopt?
adopt
Yeah.
outright. I don't know. I don't know how that release custody. Because the way that it was structured was there was um, the when Lilo was being threatened to be taken away, like that's foster care. Like that she would have gone straight into foster care.
Yeah.
Um,
So then why wasn't the neighbor an option to begin with? You
I
know?
don't know. Right. So I don't know if they were, and I could be completely wrong about this. I'm going strictly off of what I have witnessed somebody else saying
Yeah.
without research. So, but it's just like, it makes me wonder if that is how it was. Where's the research from Disney that, like, if you're stating foster and then, and then this is the route that's the happy ending, it's
Yeah.
like, no, it ain't.
But
No, it
like
ain't.
the thing
And there's so
is,
many people who know that it ain't.
it wasn't in the original. It wasn't a happy ending. It was the fear. That was the whole thing. That was like literally the thing that the catalyst for the story for Nani was that I can't let my sister be taken. Like,
And then she received help from the people that they made evil in the live action. Like she got help from Pleakley and Jumba and Stitch, and that was how she was able to keep her job and
yeah,
continue to be a family, right? And that was thrown away.
man. People hate this remake, but we're making money. That's literally what they did. Let's make a second.
So, like I said, best possible avenue is to make an all original live action too.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think that you could possibly come back with something that you're basing it off of. Like, I just don't think people are tired of that. People have been in the comment sections on almost every other remake just being like, Jesus Christ, people.
Yeah. News stories. And
And
here it
Disney's
is.
going back to 2D.
Yeah, here it is. Here's the new. I don't know. We're in. This is a weird purgatory place between that
Right.
argument, right? Like make new stories, but people are buying the remakes, so let's just make an original remake of a story we've already done. And hey,
Right.
what kind of like Franken like this is like Mary Shelley. Like we're in this
Yeah.
Frankenstein era of Hollywood. This is odd. Anyway, remake on the way. That's it for Lilo and Stitch. We're gonna move on to our third topic of conversation in our second segment. Empire, the British media outlet that covers film and usually has some pretty good stories, they had a blast of information come out about Tron Ares. I don't know if Tron is just giant over there, but no one else is reporting it like this. At one point on Empire last week, 4 of 5 stories, like their news stories that came out in a 2 or 3 day stretch, were all about Tron. So, ton of information for those of us who are interested in Tron, like myself. This is what you should know. So, we're going to go and go through here. So, director Joachim Running describes the film to the media outlet Empire as, quote, the holy grail of computer graphics. Running would explain that the film will be unlike anything seen before in terms of visuals, mainly due to their unique take on camera operations and that contributions to the audience's interpretation of the story. So how the camera is being operated will make the audience perceive what's going on in the world of the film. So for those uninitiated in the world of Tron, both the original and the 2010 sequel, Tron Legacy, changed the game when it came to sci-fi visual effects. Not just in terms of functionality, but in how far creators can truly push the envelope using computer animated assets, something that really wasn't seen until 1982 or 4, the original Tron. Both Tron and Tron Legacy see characters entering the world of Tron, known as the grid, which is when you think of Tron, that neon striped, the orange or the blue, the light cycles, that's the grid. And so in order to capture the robotic nature and feel of the grid, Running implemented a system of motion-controlled cameras that adds this robotic feel. And when talking about that, he states, quote, the concept was that a program is filming a program, so it's shot by a robot. The camera's automated.
Interesting.
Yeah. In that,
Very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So, hey, we needed to feel like a robot. It's a system recording its own self, so why not just have a robot film it? Which
Right.
you could say gets rid of a job, but that is an interesting way to go about that in a narrative sense. So what we know about Ares, which is the one that's coming out, Tron Ares, What do we know about its story is that the world of Tron breaks out into the real world, becoming sentient and too much to control. The program finally expands beyond its original functionality and impacts the reality that surrounds it. So the characters that are played by Jared Leto and his army are like, we're getting out of here. And does that sound any familiar to something we're going through right now and worried about and are having concerns with our technology in the real world? Maybe not. Outside of what's being done visually and a little bit of story, we know that the through-line character Kevin Flynn, who is portrayed by Jeff Bridges in both 1980s Tron and Tron Legacy, in 2010's Tron Legacy, I should say, will be returning in some capacity, but we will just ignore the fact that both he and his digital villainous counterpart Clue died at the end of Legacy. We're going to ignore that fact. That didn't happen.
He's a clone.
He's a clone. They died. They merged together, actually, in some weird way. You just got to watch it.
Yeah.
Somehow, Jeff Bridges is coming back as Kevin Flynn. He spoke with Empire directly, and he stated, quote, Flynn originally explored the digital world in the hopes of achieving some sort of perfection for humanity. But now the plot thickens, you know? As the dude might say, new stuff has come to light. But he didn't say stuff. Think the Big Lebowski stereotypical, the dude just, stuff happens, right? Like that. It's just typical Jeff Bridges, sorry. The film also features a precise and unpleasant, in quotation marks, score from Nine Inch Nails, and that comes from frontman Trent Reznor directly. He's like, dude, we're not playing around with this score, and you kind of have to be after Daft Punk.
Yeah.
He continued with his conversation with Empire about the score, stating, quote, it's not an atonal, punishing score, but we spent a lot of time thinking about the undertones of what's happening in the story, the concept of artificial life infused with feelings and emotions and a sense of questioning their purpose and their replaceability, their lack of soul in some ways. We kind of riffed on that, which is an interesting way to go about that, by the way. The film stars Jared Leto as the main antagonist, Ares, as we talked about, and Jodie Turner-Smith as his second-in-command, Athena. It also has Evan Peters, Greta Lee, Cameron Monaghan, who is the guy who, if you've ever seen the show Gotham, he plays the Joker version in that show, and he is in the Star Wars games, the newer Star Wars games. And I'm blanking on the Fallen Order. He's in the red hair, the main guy. Yeah, that's him. That's the guy that acts as Cal Kestis. He's in it, apparently, and a lot more. So
Shameless would probably be one of his biggest roles.
That's the other one. Yes. So what do we think with all that information? Because that was a condensed kind of quick synopsis of 3 or 4 different articles about the same thing from one outlet, right? Thank you, Empire, by the way. What do we think, Jake, about the sequel, all that we're hearing about it, from its score to its production to its story?
It has to have the score. I mean, the whole thing about Tron for me, which this goes back to like my love for Baby Driver and the music that was used for editing.
Yeah.
I mean, also, but Tron, the sequel, Tron Legacy with Daft Punk, like I listened to the Tron like album. Like I listened to that movie's soundtrack just straight up. I don't care if it's just Daft Punk,
straight
no
EDM
singing,
yeah,
just straight EDM. It's just one of those things that I can listen to and I enjoy it. Like I don't know. So Nine Inch Nails, I hope they can do it. I like Nine Inch Nails, but like it's got to have that, I'm not going to say techno feel, but it's got to be so, I don't know if Nine Inch Nails like bridges that, I guess. So it's like Nine Inch Nails to me is like a hard rock.
Yeah.
And so I'm very interested in knowing how they fit in or how they might alter themselves or not to make this world come to life, because they are going up against big shoes, man. Like this is a crazy feat if they can accomplish it, just score wise.
Yeah. So Nine Inch Nails, I'm trying to think of, it's Reznor and it's Ross is his last name. I can't find his first name. Atticus Ross, sorry. So they're both members of Nine Inch Nails. They have scored for Disney before. They scored the movie Soul. So the Pixar film Soul, they've scored that. And that it doesn't have like a hard rock feel. But that
was like a lighter tone.
But the thing is, they didn't score that as Nine Inch Nails. They scored that as Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor. So when they were approached, according to this Empire Online story, what was interesting about it was that when they were like right after Soul is when they got asked, and they were like yes, but they then were asked, but a part of Nine Inch Nails, not as yourselves, and then they were like oh, so it's like what's interesting about it is like I feel like they wanted to pivot because you can't just try to replicate Daft Punk. So
Right, and I would hate if they tried to replicate it.
yeah,
I'm just saying, like, there's because Daft Punk is so perfect for
dude, they look like they
that.
belong in Tron. Like
Right, I mean, the get up, but also the music, the EDM, there's just that sound is Tron,
yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah,
don't know, I haven't seen the first one, and I don't know what music they used in that, but
yeah,
Legacy was, I don't even know if it did good in the box office, and I don't really care. I love that movie.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It may not be top 10, but that is like a comfort watch. Like, I enjoy Tron.
yeah.
Um, and so and it is majority because of the music that played during it. It's just so cool.
Yeah, and so here's the thing with Tron, and I like that they went a different direction, and I like that they went with a guy or a group of guys that they feel like can do it. Like they've had successes because Soul's soundtrack was like, or its score was good, like it fit well with the story. And I like that they're pivoting, like we just said, from they're not just trying to replicate Daft Punk, they're going to a group of guys that are established. It is a little weird. Remember, we talked about it. We were like, what the heck? But the thing is, I am more interested and have a little bit more concern over the fact that Tron, as was described at the beginning of our little info dump, every time it's released, it has changed the game. Tron is about setting the status quo that society hasn't even caught up to yet. That's like its moniker. And if you go and you read the article, you know what I mean by that is the creators and all throughout Tron, right? When they put forth this movie, society catches up with it. Like it has everything Tron has talked about in terms of technology, not in terms of like the grid itself, but its concepts have come true. So it's like
Right.
they have put,
AI.
yeah, they have done so well with not just predicting it, but just like seeing what's happening and calling it out. Because Tron is in many ways, uh, it's a testament to what's happening, but what's gonna happen, right? So my worry is that they're gonna try too hard. They're gonna be like, look, we gotta be meta. We gotta do something. Because like now it's like with AI, right? Like they've accurately predicted the easiest, it's a softball, right? To just pop and just hit AI and say, look, oh, it's real world, scary. But we've seen that with Terminator. Like this is not new.
Yeah.
So it's like my worry is that they're gonna try to really too hard and you're gonna like walk away from it being like, yeah, it was Tron and it was cool, but it was eh. Like that's
Yeah.
if anything, like yes, I like the music obviously is of a concern, but I like what I've seen in the fact that they're just making something new and fresh and they're not just trying to do something over again. My concern is, okay, you're bringing Jeff Bridges. His story seemed pretty, or Bridges, he seemed pretty wrapped up in the last one. How? That just seems like fan service. Okay, like they're pretty self-aware that Tron does this every time it releases. It sets a standard that society catches up to. Like it's not just commenting on what's happening; it's commenting on what's about to happen. So it's like if they try too hard, it's going to be cringe and it's going to not hit that point. It's going to be like, I would just hate after 15 years since a sequel and the sequel to the first was 20 something or almost 20 something years. No, it was 25 years, 26 years. So it's like the fact that we've waited this long, 40 something years for the trilogy to finish. If it finishes on a bad note, it tarnishes the Tron
Mhm.
reputation forever. So
And you have to mention the Leto curse. The Jared
I
Leto curse.
know. It's just like the thing is, if any actor looks like he belongs in Tron, it looks he's Jared Leto.
Well,
He
yeah.
fits. He's weird like that. But also it's like, yeah, like Jared Leto does that. And so I just hope because he again, imagine if the storyline's a little cringy because it's trying too hard, and you have Jared Leto being Jared Leto on top of it.
Cringy trying to
Cooked. It's done.
Cooked.
No, like for real though, like it's done. And so it's like that is where my concerns come in. But
Yeah.
from what I've seen, I like from what everything I've read. Please, we're gonna have our links in the description for our sources. Read and tell us what you guys think because I love Tron. I love Tron Legacy. Kaczynski, again, going back to our first segment with our number one in the box office, Joseph Kaczynski, who did F1. He did such a good job with Legacy. I don't know why they didn't bring him back. But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what goes on here. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and move on to our third segment, our final segment of the afternoon. So, coming up after the break, Matt Reeves finally finishes the script for The Batman Part 2. A sequel to The Social Network was greenlit by Sony, and what you should know before you go. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to Beyond the Screen. As always, we get to segment 3, and I worry that this is going to be like a little tone deaf now because we've done it literally every episode. But thank you guys for just being here. You know, the fact, again, you're here for as long as you are to get to segment 3, it just means a lot. And we really appreciate you. Thank you for just hanging out with us and letting two dudes and our director, Emily, just talk and listen about film. You know, I couldn't do it without these guys. I read a quote recently, and I failed to remember who it's from. I guess it shows how good of an info gatherer I am. But the idea of like, I'm not good. I just surrounded myself with people who are infinitely better. And I have done that. And I feel like I've mentioned something like that before, but I want to emphasize again, like this is not possible without Jake or Emily. And they are way better than I am at any of this. So I'm just very thankful that I have tricked them into hopping on this bandwagon and working with me because I couldn't do it without them. So
Something that I have been taught by a coworker, as well as like something that I can attribute it to, and so is archery. So when you are competing with somebody, and this was in high school, you would either be back to back, face to face, whichever one, depending on if you were left-handed or right-handed. But if they were better than you would shoot better,
yeah,
because I mean, obviously, physically, your arrows could possibly be led towards the center, glancing off of theirs, like
yeah,
physically, but your mindset changes as well. And so when you're shooting against somebody who's better, yes, you might be a little nervous, but you are somewhat on top of your game,
yeah. You're locked in.
and you're locked in because I mean, obviously you don't want to, I mean, it's not a disappointment of the other guy, but you want to perform your very best. Like you're up there with somebody who is better. So, and then I can attribute that to something my coworker said. And if you surround yourself with people who are better, you will become better. You
Yep.
will learn from them the whole time. If you surround yourself with people who don't strive to become better and waste away, you will as well. So, Ryan, I've surrounded myself with someone better than I am.
You're being sweet. You're being sweet.
So, take that as you will, audiences at home. Find yourself some people who lift you up and who you can learn from. And that's all I have to say.
And with that, those wonderful words and that beautifully illustrated concept that is just it's real, you know, like do that because there shouldn't be an end to trying to grow. And I think that's what this podcast embodies. We have 3 people here who want to see something grow and who want to work hard to build something. We have an audience who's hungry for this. And we thank you guys just for being here again and comment, like, share, do the whole 9 across the board and tell your mom about it. I'm sure she would like to know about our podcast. Tell your mom. How about that one?
And your dad.
Yeah. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and get into our first story in our final segment. Matt Reeves poses with co-writer Mattson Tomlin to officially announce that the script for The Batman Part 2 is finally complete. It's been so long. There have been so many memes about this. We almost got to the GTA 6 level of meme with waiting for this film. Here we are. The Batman Part 2, the script is officially turned in. So this comes just weeks ahead of the official rebirth of the new look DCU with James Gunn's Superman, of which the Batman Part 2 won't be a part of, but it's interesting to see the timeline of which it was confirmed. And just after Gunn slammed audiences and the media for not being more patient with the writer/director, stating, quote, James Gunn anyway states, quote, let the guy write the screenplay in the amount of time he needs to write it. That's just the way it is. He doesn't owe you something because you like his movie. I mean, you like his movie because of Matt. So let Matt do things the way he does, which is sentiments he's been sharing for a long time. But he kind of went over that again, and now here it is. The film was officially greenlit just after the original took off in theaters in April of 2022, ultimately culminating in a staggering $772 million return for Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers did kind of the Lilo and Stitch thing, and they were like, I made a ton of money, let's go ahead and do it. And nothing was prepped, and now here we are, however many years later, 3 years later, and we're just getting a sequel. Many memes, as I said earlier. So, over 3 years after the sequel receives its green light, through comments by Robert Pattinson hoping that things hurry up with the production, to rumors of poor health from Reeves himself, and so on and so on and so on and so on and so on, we're here. We finally have it, and production begins. The film is now set to release in October of 2027, so 5 years after the original. How do we feel? Are we happy?
I'm very happy. I can't tell you how ecstatic I am. I foresee a delay. I
Man, that was
know there's
quick.
gonna be one. I know there's gonna be one. It's gonna be like summer 28 or something
I don't know. I
before
mean,
then.
I feel like the original was the original was just after. I guess it was before April. It was probably like February or something. It was early of 22
I
because
think
I
so.
feel like I don't think it was an October release.
March 4th.
March. Okay, so yeah, in March. Okay, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I see this. I see the October release. I feel like October is a prime like the Halloween vibe. I feel like a Dark Batman
Yeah.
is kind of a Halloween feel. Um,
It was already Halloween during the
yeah,
first one,
yeah, and
right?
yeah. The thing is, you have all of 26 to film. You started you got it in mid 25, so you
Yeah.
have the rest of 25 to plan. I think we'll see it late third quarter 27. I don't think that there's a reason that should be delayed, although who knows. I mean,
Something could happen.
the problem before was that the script wasn't ready. Now the
Right.
script's ready, and that just fast tracks everything. Because I mean, how many people besides us, and not just us, not just the fans, how many executives, how many actors have been saying we want to see it, we want to see it, we want to see it. Now that the script's in, I don't think it'll. I think they're going to really work hard to get this in.
Yeah.
So I hope there's not another delay. But the picture too, we saw it a little bit on screen, flash some images. It was kind of dope. You had Reeves and Tomlin just sitting in the background with a blurred out. The only thing on the script itself was the bat symbol, but the language underneath it was all blurred out, and it was black and white, and it just looked very aesthetically pleasing. They took that a long time ago. They did not wait until
Yeah.
it was done. That was locked and loaded, waiting for a long time because it was just too perfect. But you love to see it.
Oh yeah.
Any final thoughts on the Batman Part 2?
Oh man, you'll be hearing from me about it, I'm sure, all
Pod
the way up to the release.
Pod 2027, third quarter, we're going to be talking about it. Probably extensively
I'm
before that.
going.
Yeah, we're going.
I saw the Batman in theaters the first time,
Yeah, we'll be there.
so heck yeah.
So on that note, we'll go ahead and move on. Exciting stuff from the world of DC. Up next, we have Aaron Sorkin is set to direct The Social Network 2 for Sony, another sequel that no one asked for. Wait, this is the week of sequels. After years of hinting at a potential sequel to his Oscar nominated script, The Social Network, because Sorkin did not direct, if we remember, he just wrote the script,
Right.
he just didn't have an angle. That was it. That's why there wasn't a sequel. He had teased and teased and teased it, but he was like, I don't have an angle for it. Well, writer-director Andy Sorkin officially announces that the sequel is in development and that he'll be taking the reins, replacing official director, or original director, I should say, David Fincher. Those close to Sorkin report that this is not a direct sequel per se, but a follow-up, and that's in quotations, a follow-up. While the original follows the unexpected success of young entrepreneurs Mark Zuckerberg, who's Jesse Eisenberg, and Eduardo Saverin, who's Andrew Garfield, famously, the sequel will follow how Facebook impacted the 2020 election, the January 6th of 2021's insurrection, and, quote, Facebook's effect on teens, preteens, violence, and countries outside the U.S., and all that's from Variety. It is heavily expressed, though, with all that being said, very political. It was heavily expressed that this is not a January 6th or a 2020 election film. This is not about that. However, it is a commentary on the social site's impact on society around it and those issues. So how, like, we saw a bunch of stuff about misinformation and about how it promoted that violence, as was previously stated. So that's what it will focus on. Adding in my own opinion here, I fail to see how that will conceive a story similar to what, or not even similar, but like the original was so focused on Zuckerberg. Like it had an obvious story. This is just so vague. So I have some concerns just there. However, moving back to the film and away from politics and personal opinions, the original in so many ways helped launch the young careers of Garfield and Eisenberg, and just into the stratosphere. Like that film was kind of the catalyst for them being the names that we recognize today in such high regard. So that makes this film an absolute goldmine for agents and for young talent trying to do the same. The problem is, while Sorkin has gained a lot of experience directing since the original was filmed and distributed in 2010, people are skeptical of Sorkin's ability. He's directed Molly's Game and The Trial of the Chicago 7, which the second I just named I've heard is really well done and people really like. But the thing is that he's replacing arguably one of the best directors in all of Hollywood in David Fincher. So it's like you have two really decent films, okay, but that's it. The guy you're replacing did Seven, did Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, Zodiac, all these films, including The Social Network, right? So it's like that's the guy you're replacing. Nonetheless, Sorkin will take the reins whenever production begins. So what do we think about The Social Network 2? What do we think about or I say Andy? I think I might have said Andy once or twice. Aaron Sorkin, I'm sorry, taking his leadership of the sequel.
I think you can't not make it political. I think it's going to become like very political. I
How do you
I don't
not?
think you can just say I don't think you can just say that like this is going to be about Facebook's involvement or impact
Yeah.
of all of these political happenings as well as its effect on the world's next generation. I don't see how you could possibly tell a story without it getting political.
Yeah.
Because I mean, also I Mark Zuckerberg is a real person. I am very interested in knowing what he thinks um, about this because this is like a level of legal like because as soon as you start getting political, right?
Where does
Zuckerberg.
libel begin? You know?
See, so like who's gonna be like stepping on eggshells, right?
So
I assume
he,
so.
here's the thing too is that the fact that this guy was like I will do a sequel. I've been waiting for the right angle. That to me screams there's no story. But you
Right.
want to do a sequel because it was so popular. Like that's not I just don't think
That's
that
not why you do a sequel.
yeah, that doesn't like yes, in part it is, but that doesn't breed like there's no actual story after the Zuckerberg and Saverin, right? Yeah, angle of Facebook. The whole point of the original was the craziness of how Facebook took off and how it got to where it is today, or like how Zuckerberg became the Mongol he is today. Not the social like yes, it was social impact, but like now you're talking about like the insurrection, right? You're talking about the election and how false information was shared. Like, how do you not get political? The fact that I just said that, people are going to like argue, like some people will argue with me. You're going to get this film out and it's going to get political regardless. You know what I mean? Like, there's no talking about that without it being political.
I think Emily had a message for you. I don't know if anybody.
Oh, I
She
didn't
said
see it.
Aaron, not Andy. I don't know if you said
No,
Andy
I
or.
think that's what I was saying. I think I've been saying Andy. I meant to say Aaron. Apologies.
Sorry. Apologies, everybody. Love you guys.
I don't know why I said Andy. His name's Aaron. But anywho, the point is,
Yes.
I don't know.
Time will tell, but I didn't see the first. I've seen clips of the first, and it's a very good, like looking and the drama is there. But I really don't think this needed a two, and not from this scope.
I just again, it's this is just not needed.
It worries me.
Yeah. I the thing is, Sorkin, he can do whatever he wants. And I feel like he had a green light from production houses, just do it. And he was just waiting. Again, I worry the way that this was the way it reads. I've been looking for an angle for 15 years. Let it go. It's over. You don't need a sequel to The
Yeah.
Social Network. Anyway, any final thoughts on Aaron
I have
Sorkin
no
and
final
the story?
thoughts.
Huh?
I do not. I do not.
Okay.
No final thoughts.
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and get into our trailers. We have a list of 4 big trailers that came out this past week. We're going to give you a sneak peek of them, starting with Roofman. Moving on to Begonia, then Splitsville, and Ryan Gosling starting Hail Mary. I apologize. I thought we already had our thing up. So after this, we will then start with Roofman.
Technical.
On the whereabouts of the escaped convict known as the Roofman.
Good morning, team.
Kind of like I was not good at hurting people.
Dwayne, get your coat.
I don't have one.
Are you serious?
I think
that Ryan
I
Gosling?
think-
Roofman?
No.
I'm
Again,
kidding. He's
tech,
not
tech,
Roofman.
tech difficulties. That's not her
You're
fault.
all right. You're all right.
I
No,
will
it's not.
say-
I just
I think Roofman looks hilarious. So
yeah. So you gonna give the premise?
if
Would you like-
if you want to go ahead, you can.
from what I saw, and I didn't read synopsis or anything like that, it is based on a true story of a escaped convict who, in this story, he's like hiding out in a Toys R Us, um, and he, I guess, falls in love with a worker there, but he's also just trying to like lay low until his guy can get him a passport and some money to get out of the country. And then, obviously, as films go, he becomes encroached with the livelihood that he's found himself, this odd livelihood he's found himself in, and he falls in love with a worker there, and he's trying to be a good guy, but he kind of goes through like immoral ways to do that. Like he steals toys to give to um I don't know, a donation center or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's it looks funny. I mean, Channing Tatum's in it as the lead, and then I forget
I
the
just
lady's
looked it up.
name.
Kirsten Dunst is
Kirsten
yeah,
Kirsten
or
Dunst.
Kirsten, yeah.
Um, so I'm looking forward to it. Uh, do we know if it's who owns this? Who would stream this?
It's
'Cause I think
distributed
this is
by
a
Paramount, so I'm assuming it's going to
okay.
Paramount Plus.
Yeah. So this one's I think it looks great. I think it looks awesome.
In the
And it's got
yeah.
Peter Dinklage in it.
Yeah, I was about to say the best part about the trailer that I saw was Peter Dinklage walking out like he wasn't brushing his teeth, was he? He walked out and Channing Tatum was there half naked coming out of the shower and he
Yeah.
screams and Channing Tatum's running. It's based off like I swear I remember this being a true story. Like a guy, not the whole falling in love thing, but that like a guy broke out of a prison and lived in a Toys R Us for months and months hiding out from the police in the town of the prison he broke out in. I swear that's a real story and I think that's what this is
It
based off of.
is.
Yeah.
It is based on it.
Yeah, that's hilarious, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think Channing Tatum, he just looked like he's just gonna do great. So I'm excited for that one. So after that, we had the release of the trailer of Yorgos Lanthimos' next film called Begonia.
Gather pollen for the queen, but it is not in control anymore. We are.
So as you saw, a Lanthimos cornerstone and Emma Stone sticks around for another film. This is like her fourth or fifth Yorgos Lanthimos partnership. So she's back, and Jesse Plemons is in this one, and it just looks it looks like a normal Yorgos Lanthimos film. It looks out there, it looks different, and overall interesting. You got Jesse Plemons talking about bees and talking about like
Right.
the queen bee, and one line in there, he's like, "Are you sure that she's an alien?" He's like, "Yeah." It's just like,
Look at her.
yeah. So it looks fun.
Oh yeah. No, it's probably a thriller too. It looked kind of weird. It's very weird.
Have you seen any Yorgos Lanthimos?
I have not. I
That
don't think so.
that is the perfect way to describe he did Poor Things recently, and that was with Emma Stone as well. Odd. Just they're just like different. He sees the world differently, and it's like you could see it. Like he's not. You know how Wes Anderson is he's just different. Yorgos Lanthimos is very similar, but not in terms of style, just in terms of how they have a very specific feel. And so I for one am excited because I like Lanthimos, and I think Stone is perfect for just all of his films. She does so well. After that, Splitville had a trailer release as well.
Last night. Together.
This is normal, right? People go through stuff like this in the first year of marriage.
No.
So what do we say about this one?
Sorry, that's not the best. I had a lot of trouble cutting that up and putting it together, but I don't care for I guess polyamorous relationships or like you can do whatever you want. Not me. Like I'm not into that.
The instant
And then,
backtracking.
like,
Well, I'm not judging you.
like cheating on your spouse and being in a polyamorous relationship is not for Jake. All right. It's not for me, man. Not me. And it just makes me kind of like I don't know. Like I don't want that to happen to me. It just irks me when I hear about like cheating. I'm just like, It physically repulses me to think about somebody doing that. And so I probably could not sit through this movie without being like that third hand embarrassment level that you get from like a Disney TV show where they miscommunicate and somebody thinks something and that's not really what it was. That
Yeah.
third hand embarrassment. I'd turn off TV shows because of that reason.
So for those who aren't watching and for those who haven't seen the trailer, Splitville, from what we can, at least what I can grab, is about a main character whose wife cheats on him, and he somehow ends up in the presence of a open relationship Dakota Johnson and her husband. Dakota Johnson explains that they're open. She doesn't quite outright say polyamorous, does she? She says something similar. But the point.
No, yeah, that's what she
Oh,
says.
is that what she says? Okay, yeah.
They are poly.
She
yeah.
says poly. I couldn't remember if that's exactly the language she used, but that's what she says. But then when the husband's wife cheats on him and he finds himself in the presence of Dakota Johnson and her husband who are poly, and then you see Dakota Johnson sleep with that husband, and then for whatever reason after that Dakota Johnson's husband starts fighting the other husband that she slept with when he hears about it. And so it's just like this weird and then there's another scene where the main character is speaking with the original wife who cheated in the first place. It is like, we're even now. We just shouldn't talk about it. And it's just like, it's weird. Yeah, it did look odd. It's so, I don't know.
Right.
It is, I'm part fascinated by it because I'm like, okay, like, is this just like controlled chaos that could be funny? Or is it like, I can't tell, because if it's going to be a comedy, I could see where it might have some legs to stand on. But if it's meant to be like a serious thing, I don't think it's going to be very good. But that's just my personal opinion.
I think the funniest part of it was when his wife said she wanted a divorce and like that she was unfaithful. He gets out of the car on a road and he just runs off into a field. I mean, he trips and falls, which is funny too, but like he's running through a field and he runs through the bush of Dakota Johnson and her husband's backyard. And then it just cuts to like him in their house talking about his divorce. And so it just leads you to think that like he ran for so far or whatever. Maybe they were close, but like he just ran. He just left her in the car.
Yeah.
And then just ended up at some like somewhat wealthy family's home.
They're like, we're poly.
And then talking about his divorce and like, well, we're poly. And then that's the story. And it's like, that's so good, but like weird, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like,
and the thing is, before he runs out, she's like, I've been unfaithful. And he's like, with one guy, right? And she's like, he's like, two. She's like,
he's counting, bro.
He says verbatim, please don't make me count. Then he goes 3, 4, and then it cuts to him running out. Yeah.
So, he gets out of the car and runs away.
So it's just like if it is.
I can't say that I wouldn't do the same.
If it's like, oh no, for sure, it's like I'm out of here. But if it's a comedy, you're like, oh buddy, oh no. But like if it's not, it's like, anyway. The final film that we're going to be talking about that had a trailer release was the next Ryan Gosling film called Project Hail Mary.
Not an astronaut.
If you don't go, you die. With the rest of us.
How do I explain Project Hail Mary from the 4 minutes of the trailer?
4 minutes.
That's the trailer was like 3 something, almost 4
Yeah.
minutes. Think Interstellar, but not as serious. That's what it looked like. That's what it felt like. Ryan Gosling plays a middle school science teacher who has a degree in like what? Microbiology. And
right?
That's it. And so the sun is dying and all these stars are dying because of some event, except for one. And when Ryan Gosling questions, the entire room collectively goes, "We don't know." And then they're like, for whatever reason, they're like, "You, Gosling,
Right.
You're going to get in a ship and you're going to fly to that star and figure out why." And he's like, "Why?" And they're like, "Because." And that's literally the story. He's like
That's the trailer at least.
He's like, yeah, from this trailer. He's like remembering when that happened, and he's like in the ship with a big beard. And he's like, "I want to go home." Like it's like the story. And so it's like it feels like, again, insert reason for planet dying, must fly out to deep space to solve problem, will never see home or family again. Weird stuff goes on. That's that's just Interstellar stripped
He
down.
meets an alien.
Yeah. That's I guess that's the counterpart to that is like that's where it's different. Is he does meet an alien. He befriends him too, I think, in the story. But it's like
Yeah.
it just feels like Interstellar.
It's very odd the way that the trailer told the story because it was it's like I'm just a middle school science teacher with a doctorate in microbiology.
Doesn't happen.
And it was like whatever circumstances brought you to be a middle school science teacher, dog, by all means, but it just seemed happenstance like you just oh yeah, by the way,
Yeah.
I'm ultra smart.
Can you imagine?
And then they jump to like them wanting him to be an astronaut. And I really don't know how that jumps to that. He's got to know something
Yeah.
about that really minute thing that is saving this one star.
No judge to anyone who has probably done this because I would imagine that some number of people probably have done what I'm about to describe and then jump back to middle school or something high school because they just liked it better. But going through all that college, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, countless hours and years of the classroom to get your doctorate in something as niche and as crazy intensive as microbiology, a doctorate in microbiology, just to turn around and say, 6th grade science. Like, it's just like, so then why him? That's such a, he's wasting the ability. What's he using? Like, I don't know. I just think that
Which he did seem kind of sad.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Did it not like somewhat paint him in the trailer as a somewhat? I
Mopey?
mean, he felt like he had failed himself.
Okay.
I mean, he wears a cardigan, and I'm not saying that about people who wear cardigans, right? But
Bro, what's wrong? You're wearing a cardigan.
saying like they painted it, they portrayed him as, and I'm still not dissing on people who wear men who wear cardigans, but they portrayed him as a lesser man
Was
and
he
like he's very mopey and a failure.
was he more
right?
mopey because he was in space and he would never see home, or because he
I'm talking about him in the classroom. He just felt like he
didn't
acted like he was a failure.
maybe. I don't know.
I got that. I got that he wasn't fulfilled.
I want to see him like comically and cartoonishly like walk around with his arms dragging, like bent over, arms dragging, all sad looking. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Ryan Gosling looks like in that film, according to Jake.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that is Jake's interpretation of Ryan Gosling as this character in Project Hail Mary before he gets sent to space. Then it's just worse. And then it just gets infinitely worse.
Right.
Anyway, that's been the trailers that we're going to talk about this week. We're going to run through one last piece of information for you guys. What you should know before you go. Our final little piece of segment in our show. We'll run through 4 or 5 news headlines that didn't quite have enough meat to talk about, but still important for you to know. We're going to talk about the things that are most interesting to us, starting with AMC Theaters website now reminds moviegoers that, quote, movies start 25 to 30 minutes after showtime, end quote. Then why is the showtime not 35, 30 or 25, 30 minutes after? Anyway.
Well, because they want people to come and sit through the ads.
I know that, but I mean, that's like, you tell people that now, I'm just not going to show up for 25 minutes until after. Anyway.
I enjoy sitting through them because it's like watching trailers. I don't have to seek them
I mean,
out
that
on
is true
YouTube.
too. You do get to see what comes out next, but also it is kind of, I don't know.
That's just something I've always gone early and I've watched the previews because usually what's in the theaters, like the previews there, are pretty far out from, I mean, they're readily available on YouTube nowadays. But I remember back in the day, it was like you saw a trailer in the theaters and you were like the first to know.
Yeah.
If none of your buddies went to the theaters in the past few weeks and you went, you knew before they did.
Yeah.
Now
There is
it's on
something
YouTube.
there is
but it
something
doesn't matter.
magical about that, but also it still just feels wrong.
Right.
Anyway, moving on. Taika Waititi's Akira adaptation canceled after Warner Brothers loses rights to the legendary anime. Right now, Akira and its original owners are shopping it around for a potential buyer to continue a live-action remake, but it will not be with Taika Waititi. Michael Bay is rumored to be developing another Transformers film that he would also direct. I'm a big Transformers fan, and I don't know how to feel about that. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy returns to theaters with Spider-Man 2 getting an extended 4K cut. California approves a $750 million expansion of its tax credit programs for film productions in the state. And Nickelodeon cancels internet favorite Tiny Chef. The creators then release a clip showing the title character receiving the phone call, followed by an emotional moment, and the internet continues to explode, which then led to the creators, as of Friday, so it's a lot more now, earning $80,000 in crowdfunding that'll go towards the project moving forward. So, of all those things, Jake, what are you most interested in? What has caught your eye before we let the people go?
I'm kind of glad Akira got canceled. I watched Akira recently, and it was like, how did I describe it? I texted you guys about it.
Yeah,
I described it as, I don't know, man.
it's different.
all over the place. It's good, but it's just like I can't imagine what it would be like. Also, taught like told by Taika, there's going to be a screaming goat
Yeah.
or something like that. Back to the joke with Thor: Love and Thunder when he had just learned about the screaming goat meme. And so he's like, I have to put this in my movie, and he did, and it was just like, this is like 2 years ago, Taika. Like
Yeah.
this is an old meme, man. And you're laughing your butt off at it. Anyway, like I'm kind of glad Akira didn't happen. I think it should stay the way it was. And then Ryan is chomping at the bit to talk about Transformers. I'll leave it at that. And I don't know what you mean by Tiny Chef. What do
So
you
you
mean?
haven't heard of that. Okay, so we
haven't.
don't have a ton of time and we're not going to delve into it too much, but there is a beloved character. He's a little guy. It's stop motion. He's green. He has a multicolored like front or apron and a tiny chef hat. And he's like not quite claymation, he's more fabric. But he speaks in like broken English, but not like broken English in terms of like you think like someone from like Russia, right? He speaks like broken English to where he like flubs up words. So
Yeah.
like you just got to hear him talk, but he's like blah, 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 like that. Like that's how he speaks. And he is the cutest little guy. Okay, he has had 2 or 3 seasons on Nickelodeon. People love him, and I've seen many a reel with him. He's just very like his character is very sweet, and the whole point of the show is that he's just being himself, making food. Like he's like cooking tiny little things, and they live act or they stop motion the whole thing, and it looks really good. It actually won Emmys. It's an Emmy-winning television program or children's
Interesting.
television program, and they canceled it. Nickelodeon did, Viacom. And when they canceled it, the creators were like, we're not going to stand for this. And they released like a 3-minute clip of Tiny Chef taking a call from some executive. And he's like, but what about? And he's like naming people who actually worked on the show. And he's like, I understand. And he like hangs up and he turns and he sobs. The character like sobs and he falls on his bed. And he's like, ah! He's like crying. And then it just goes to black.
Damn.
And it's like the internet was like, no, like literally, like so everyone freaked out, and it's raised over $80,000. And like this was like days after it was canceled. Like this is crazy. So I'm shocked you haven't heard about it because I might find it and have to send it to you because it's like nuts. And I had seen it before. I had no idea it was a Nickelodeon show. I just had seen clips online, just on the internet.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cute. But man, like they did not hold back either because he's literally like, I understand. Hangs up and he just starts and so it's like he's a cute little guy, and so
Yeah, I've never seen this.
yeah, go watch.
Ryan, what side of TikTok are you on?
Go
man? You
watch
on
the clip.
inside.
Go watch the clip. I'm on the wholesome side. Okay, I have all the good stuff, but go watch the clip while I talk about Transformers.
RuPaul's in it.
Huh? Yeah, yeah.
RuPaul's.
I have no idea who he voices. I didn't know that. I had no idea. But
an announcer. RuPaul is an announcer.
oh, nice. Anyway, we're going to talk about because I'm going to talk about Transformers because I have a long-standing love-hate relationship with Transformers. I grew up watching Transformers. We had a joke on our floor that we all had, like a floor of we went to college, that we all had like a little bit of like the tism, and we all had like our things. And my thing is Transformers. I love Transformers so much, and I feel like it's run its course with Michael Bay. I think that we've done better with like Transformers 1, the animated show where we could explore Cybertron. And I don't know. The last one he did, I can't tell you exactly which one it was. It wasn't the last night. Well, yeah, it was the last night. it just didn't feel like there was a story there. Like, yes, it was visually pleasing, but like, I thought that they ruined Nemesis Prime. They ruined Galvatron, which are really cool characters that like are kind of niche, but like add on to the already existing. So it's like when you mess up your first take of those characters, it's like hand it off. So I have some worry about Michael Bay potentially returning. I know a lot of people are excited about it. I'm not. I just think if you're gonna make Transformers, just do something different. I think Beast Wars was the latest or live action, and it was okay. It was pretty good. So I just don't think you need Michael Bay. But here he is.
Recession indicator.
Yeah, Linkin Park and Michael Bay Transformers. Uh-oh.
Yep.
Bad
We're
times.
back to 2007.
Yeah.
It's coming, guys.
I'm an
The
adult
bubble.
though, so it's not as cool anymore.
No, I don't. I actually noticed the problem.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh man, I don't go to the movies that often anymore.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah. I can't have that toy when I go to the store. It is now like, oh
No.
boy,
Yeah.
gas is really expensive now. Yeah. Uh-oh.
So,
Anyway, anything else you want to talk about before we let the good people go?
everybody tell Emily how well she did,
She did great.
despite technical difficulties.
Yeah.
I bet y'all didn't even notice.
I didn't. She did fantastic.
No,
Good job,
I'm
Emily.
not even watching. What are we talking about?
And on that note, that is the end of our show. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next week.